Yeah, I know Chuck is not able to join. I don't think Jeff can. I thought Shelley was joining, but we'll see if people hop
We'll
on.
see. And I mean, I'm sure there's nothing new from work group reports than we had last time we met, right? I don't think we've had further meetings since. No, we did have one, but I think what settlement. But again, that's what next week is for. Okay. All right, so this is next Thursday. That's a good, I'll check to make sure. Yeah, it's on. Okay, good. All right. Since it's just the small group of us, we can all do our own reading. I'm just reading the agenda now, making sure there's nothing alarming here.
I have a
Wraparound Services, that's the RFP updates, right? Or the implementation updates, or both.
I guess I was kind of thinking both.
Matt, are you good with that?
Which number are you looking at?
I was looking at C. What those updates are.
Yeah, so we are for the early childhood, we have told the Department of Education everything that we should have to tell them to put the RFP out. And the only issue is whether they are going to do what they should do or not. So hopefully the answer is that they will do what they should do. And for the wraparound services, it's going to be very similar in that I think I asked everyone who had helped put the original report together to get me, I put together proposed changes to the epilogue language, just like I had for the early childhood. And I sent it around to everyone who had been involved in the wraparound services the first time. So Terry Lawler and Tamara and Evelyn Edney and that whole group. And I asked them to get back to me by Monday or Tuesday if they wanted to change anything that I sent them. And if they don't, I think I copied you on that. And then if they don't get back to me, I was just going to send it to you, just like I did with the early childhood, and say, you know, everybody else seems fine with this. Is this okay with you? And if it is, then I'll send it to DOE just like I did with the early childhood. And they're just waiting on that. I had a meeting with Kim Klein and another guy whose name I can't remember, who's going to be responsible for putting out the wraparound services RFP. But they were basically willing to, you know, look at what you thought was okay for the epilogue and use that as the basis for the RFP that they would send out pretty soon. I think for both of them, they're looking to send the RFPs out now on the assumption that the epilogue language, that your colleagues will all probably defer to you, and that the epilogue language will look on June 30th pretty much like you want it to look. So how's that for a long winding answer?
That's a long answer. Is that your presentation on next week?
Well, I mean, the positive is that if everybody does what they're supposed to do, that 3-year RFPs for all of this stuff should be out in like the next 30 days.
Great.
And it should all be, you know, everybody should love it because it's all going to be in the operating budget, and people can, you know, people who were afraid to put in for it last time will put in for it this time, and all will be good.
All right, that sounds good.
Dawn
Does
has her
that
hand
come
up.
with? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Haley.
So
No, Dawn.
I want to request to review the epilogue language for the early childhood programming that's going forward, as well as the wraparound language. The early childhood programming for wraparound looks very different than K through 12 because of licensing and early childhood requirements. So
I don't think I sent it to you. I'll check, but I think I sent it to you the first time that it went around. But if not, I will.
Okay, so you know what? If you could, Matt, I don't know why this is happening. I've gone into my mailbox multiple times, but my emails from you go to my junk mail. I don't know why. But I'm trying to change it. Well, I think it's a district thing, a lot of emails that aren't recognized as state agencies. But I've gone in and changed you as not junk. But I just want to make sure that we look at the licensing requirements for before and after care programming are so different for birth to 5. I want to make sure that we have that kind of called out, or we address that before it goes out to RFP. And so this is exciting that the wraparound component will be added. So I just want to look at it because we're
Sure.
funding, there'll be children who will be, ECAP Reading funded, as well as children who are not, but they would be in the same aftercare or wraparound programming. So I will look at that. Thank you so much for letting me know. So did you send both? Did you send the epilogue language for the daytime?
No, I did not send you for the wraparound. I had only sent you for the early childhood, but I can forward you the wraparound.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I look at all the, and there are new licensing regs that I was on the licensing regs meeting yesterday about all the new proposed regs. So there's
Yeah,
no
it's
reason that they
really-
won't pass. So we want to make sure that since as of, I think, June 30th, those will be the new regs. We want to make sure that if there's anything that's not aligned, we fix that.
And you'll see when I send you the early childhood, it doesn't really change. I mean, basically what it says, and you were involved in these meetings where we met with the providers also. I mean, essentially on that front, what it says is that if you otherwise meet state standards for this age group, that you're allowed to apply for this money. So the concern was, not excluding people because they didn't fit into a particular classification. So so what it would say now is if you meet state standards, you're allowed to apply.
So Matt, I don't see either. So, and I'm not sure why, but if you could resend both.
Okay.
Today, that would be great. I'll definitely look at those and get back. And I know that Tika couldn't make it today, but I know that she would like to see those. I don't know if Shanika had a chance to see them. But certainly I know Tika would have some insight from her background in early childhood, or may have a different insight to share.
Sure. And like I said, it's also always possible that I screwed up and didn't send it to you, because the process, you may remember the process that we set up at the last consortium meeting was that the chairs were going to sign off on this stuff. So I thought that I had sent it to other people as well, but it's also possible that I just sent it to Ray and Jeff. But either way, I'll check and resend it to you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And I have a request on that agenda item. I think it would be nice if we started with a slide that kind of reminds people kind of where we are in terms of how, those initial disbursements have been deployed, because we definitely don't want to assume that anybody remembers and knows what schools and what they're doing, and, to the extent that we can comment on how it's going. But so I think that would be good to open with, because I want to make people, I know we haven't done any sort of big demonstrations of how things are happening on the ground, but at least if we can note that. I don't know if there's probably no pictures, I guess, that we could show, but at least to have a few bullets.
Sure.
Okay, and then collaborative update, what we wanted to hear, I think just a status check maybe on sort of where they are in the process and what the timeline is looking like moving forward. So what we should be expecting to see in terms of their next steps. I don't know, I know they're getting more buy-in from districts and that kind of thing. So I think just 5 minutes status check and where we go, like what next steps we should be looking at.
That sounds good.
Okay, work group reports, pretty straightforward. We know how that goes. I think, and obviously we had a good meeting with redistricting and governance, and I think we'll probably, don't expect again an extensive update, but hopefully, I hope we have Representative Chakotcha able to attend. I know that's going to be somewhat session dependent because it is a session day. But yeah, hopefully we can have him there to speak to that, or potentially Councilman Street if he can be there, although he has on Thursday nights, doesn't he also have?
I think it was Tuesday nights. I think he's available Thursday. I sent him the information.
Okay.
I think he'll probably try to go if he can.
Okay, so let's just try to pin them down on that, because it would be really nice. I think, we've probably said essentially the same thing that they're gonna say a few times coming from me or Matt, but I think it'd be really nice to hear it from Nanji. So we'll do our best, see what we can pull off. So I think, we talked about how we talk about what legislative updates, and I thought we had maybe a general note from last time. I thought I recalled that we were going to talk about just sort of legislative news, generally speaking, what to look out for. I think there's definitely more bills than just that one. I know that one got a lot of attention last week, but it's definitely not the only education related initiative out there. I know Dawn had something, I think, Dawn, that you were bringing to the attention of social determinants. So, I think we certainly should have perhaps like a short list of things we wanted to make sure were on people's radars if they would like to ask questions or discuss, but I was not planning to make any kind of, presentation or anything on it beyond letting it be on people's radars. It's not a Reading bill, unless that comes from one of our work groups to say this is something we feel that we should be endorsing, or what's the opposite of endorsing, condemning, right? Opposing. So, I think if we have that short list of legislation that we think is relevant to our work, absolutely, we should mention it. In the same breath that, we kind of give a little bit of an update on budget process, just so people kind of know where we are in the scheme of things with the legislature. But I don't think I wasn't planning on bringing any particular hyper focus to that bill in a standalone way. I'm sure people will have questions or comments.
Are there any bills that come to mind? I feel like it's just really hard with something like Reading to think of a short list, because you
Right.
always miss something.
There
I
are
mean,
a few that.
Sorry, go ahead, Dawn.
So I'd say there are three that are, from my perspective as an early childhood person, that would be appropriate for us to support. And I'm planning to bring these up, and maybe I should say this now at our next our subcommittee meeting, our social determinants of health meeting. One is the HB 144, HS 144, which is the early childhood special education bill. And I want to point out that within the city of Wilmington, when we're looking at special education services provided, service provision is inconsistent between and among districts. So if you live in one district, you might get full day programming if you are a 4-year-old on site at the local district school, and that's free, it's full day, and they have before and after care. In another district, you might get half day and it's 2.5 hours, there's no before and after care, and they don't do itinerant services. They don't provide itinerants. So really looking at with the funding of HB 144, with increasing or decreasing the ratio regarding service provision for special education, there aren't whereases in that bill, but I'll tell you what the whereases. One whereas is, we want to provide services itinerantly when possible, because that's the least restrictive environment, and that's the setting the parent has selected. So if a child, I'll just make this up, like if they're at Kingswood, or if they're at St. Michael's, or they're at the Latin American Community Center, if the child can be served, or if they're at Christina Cultural Arts Center, if the child can be served at that center, their needs allow for that, then the first step should be that they're served at their childcare center that the family has selected, or the preschool. But because staffing is so stretched, because the ratio right now is 12.8 children per teacher, we have situations where children are not receiving their services itinerantly at Christina Cultural Arts Center. The bus is picking them up and they're going into the local district. When that's not best practice, that doesn't meet IDEA requirements or LRE requirements, but the staffing is stretched too thin. So the goal is to have children be in the environment where the family enrolled them and for the services to go to the child. I know, Matt, you and I've talked about that. So this would reduce the ratio from one teacher for every 12.8 children to one teacher for every 8.4 children. So that would increase the opportunity for itinerant service provision so children can stay in the child care center or preschool, be it mentioned Head Start, there's another one. They can stay in the center that the family has selected. And that also allows the expertise with special education support to be embedded into that child care preschool center. That's one reason. Another reason is we have districts statewide that only offer half day because the ratio of children to teachers is again 12:8. So they don't have the staff to be able to support a full day. So you have some programs offering full day. There are only a handful of districts, so I don't want to call them out, but you can just look online and see who's offering half day and who's offering full day. And so within our city, it is inconsistent when children have an IEP, whether they receive full day or half day services. So this bill would really address quality of service provision and the length of service provision. Does that make sense with HB? Okay, so that's HS1 for HB 144. The second one is the oral health bill. When you look at CDC, American Academy of Pediatrics, American Academy of Pediatric Dentists, they all call out access to oral health care as a social determinant of health. And when you look at DPH's report from 2020, particularly our children in the city of Wilmington, and then also some areas in Sussex where families don't have access to health care, the prevalence of children not having access to health care, missing school, having other health-related needs because of poor oral care or access to oral care. So this bill will ensure that all children in elementary have access to oral health screening. And so right now, Representative Williams, we've been meeting with her that she may do a pilot because there's a data transfer challenge right now with public health and public schools. So I don't know if the bill will remain as is, or if it will be like first year as a pilot until the data transfer, because it's a partnership between public health and the LEAs, because public health comes in and does the oral health screening. So as the bill stands, it's all elementaries, but that may change. So stay tuned for that. But if it is filed, if it stays as is, I can share all the data, all the reasons why it's a bill that we should support, because when we look at our zip codes, you can drill down to zip codes and 802, 801, I think it's 805. Those are zip codes with high instances of oral decay when you look at the data. And then the last one is the lead screening. So I've been on quite a few lead screening meetings lately, and Representative Lambert is soon to file another lead screening bill to kind of clean up HB 222 and with Senator Hansen. Another component of it is ensuring that in childcare and in public schools, we are making sure that families know the education, so families know that all children are to be screened at 12 months and 24 months statewide, the entire state now. But when we look at the city of Wilmington, and I can share the lead numbers with you, the 4 highest zip codes with incidences of children with lead poisoning are 801, 802, 805, and the 4th one is 19720. That's a group you don't want to be in. So we know in the city of Wilmington, there continues to be a high level of lead poisoning. And this is, and then so these are children who are lead poisoned will receive special education services throughout their career and will need social services support throughout their lives. So this is a real issue for our families in Wilmington and the surrounding areas. And so new legislation is coming. So it's not filed yet. But
Oh.
that's certainly, so access to safe housing and safe toys and safe foods, those are all social determinants of health that impact children academically. Because if you experience lead poisoning, then that impacts your ability to learn at school.
Yeah. I think for the purposes of raising awareness, we should definitely stick to bills that have been filed because I don't want to confuse. Oh, sorry, Matt, I didn't see your hand.
This was just a process suggestion that for both, I mean, I agree with what you were just saying, but even for bills that have been filed, it seems like a regular Reading Consortium meeting is not really a good forum to hash these things out. And we should probably have one of our work groups
Sure.
look at things
Absolutely.
first. And I don't know that we need a special new work group to do it, but
No.
No, I mean, these are things that it can come through our early childhood work group to the committee, the subcommittee, if that's what.
Right. When Dawn, I think when we talked about it, that was kind of the same thing, right? Where I said,
Yes.
it's good for us to bring that through a work group. So maybe to
Yes.
that point, actually, because we have had that conversation, is that when we talk about legislative updates, maybe we can just remind folks. I mean, I don't know. Well, they have meetings coming up, or opportunities to have conversations, like the educators, or, obviously governance is going to have a very specific bill they're focused on that they want us to consider.
you want to ask Chuck and-
ask people to bring us legislation they would like us to weigh in on. Sorry, Matt.
No, I'm sorry, I was talking over you.
No, that was just my point. So I think maybe in that place, instead of discussing HB 353, maybe we'll say, there have been a number of bills that have made news or that our members are interested in, highlighting in one way or another. So we would just perhaps ask that work groups in their upcoming meetings, look for opportunities to weigh in on specific pieces of legislation, so that we can, perhaps take some action on that as a full body. Now, it's all very time sensitive because this stuff can move really quickly. But there's ways for us to work around that. If people are very determined, if in a work group, it's decided that we should be endorsing a specific bill or opposing a specific bill, I'm sure we could do something by email in terms of figuring out whether or not that's something we want to do as a group in between general body meetings. That was all. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you just said. And I was just sort of wondering whether Aaron and Chuck might want to, expand the scope of what they're doing, and just take on the responsibility for sort of, if people, I mean, I say this only because they have the most expansively, I mean, their group is not really subject matter specific like the other ones are. And they also, it seems like, meet most often and have pretty good attendance. And so they wanted to take on, in addition to what they're doing, looking at bills and making suggestions, that might be something that they had the capacity to do. But also to the point that you were just making, I mean, we're just not really set up to do, rapid response, type stuff, for bills that get introduced. And I think people also just need to sort of understand that. And, if it's important to them to have us talk about something and take a position on it, that they just need to know that they need to bring it early and sort of let the process work.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think that agenda item is an opportunity for us to sort of talk about that process and encourage that. I think perhaps before then, and I can just send a text to Aaron, see if they'd be interested in kind of being a little bit of a legislative watchdog, but I think we should encourage all work groups to feel free to elevate anything that is important to that work group. But maybe having a settlement kind of take that on, I think more specifically, I do like that idea, but I definitely don't want to discourage anyone else from advocating either.
Okay.
So Haley, is that helpful from an agenda perspective? I think so.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, cool. But no, I could not agree more with Matt that we do not want to turn this meeting into a debate about the merits of that particular bill or any particular bill. I perhaps what even just hinting at it means that we won't be able to avoid it, but you know, we'll see. We'll try to keep that chill. So I think that covers it. I mean, I think that gives us a pretty a fairly robust agenda. I don't think we're missing anything that we discussed last time. I know we added quite a bit, and it seems to me like we have some really interesting stuff for the work groups to talk about. I do see one outstanding question we didn't address was whether or not we want to vote on the ombudsperson bill. They already voted within their committee to support that, right? But I don't think it's been filed.
No.
Oh, they did.
Go ahead, Haley.
I was just gonna say, so there was, Shannon brought forward a resolution and a bill. The work group voted to support the resolution, but not the bill as it was written. Shannon's gonna go back and work on some of the language, so it's not gonna make it to this Reading meeting
Okay.
for a bigger vote.
Okay. Got it. So they'll just be talking about what they're doing there.
Yeah, and I don't know if Shannon was looking for support from the big consortium on the resolution. Kelly, do you remember? Or if I had check back with Aaron and Chuck about that. It was a resolution to support like the reconstituting of DSPAC, whatever it's called, the
All right. DPAC, right?
DPAC, yeah.
DPAC, yeah.
And
Yeah,
doing-
I'm definitely aware of that. I've been looped in on that to some degree. Looking forward to that coming forward. But yeah, I mean, I'll defer to Aaron and Chuck on that one. If they feel ready, they're ready. If not, then next time.
And they we'll circle back. I think they wanted it shared with a few different stakeholders before it came to the consortium.
Okay.
But we can confirm.
Okay.
But I can't remember if that was the resolution, because that was definitely the bill is not ready, but I don't know if they wanted
Yeah.
support on the resolution and if
Yeah.
that was ready to go.
And I feel like we mentioned last time, I forget if we confirmed, can we potentially vote on things by email? That's allowed, right? Did we check with Aaron Goldstein about that? I know we were gonna ask him something. I don't remember if that was the thing, but I'm just thinking in terms of like just the pace of session from this midpoint to the end and compared to our, pace of meetings. That if it comes up that we have something that they want us, or we decide we want to put forward for formal positions, that we may want to see if we can do that virtually, digitally, whatever you would say.
We can ask him. We asked about in-person.
Oh, right.
versus-
Whether we needed the anchor location now.
Mhm, and we
Right,
don't
right,
yet.
right.
We're okay.
I feel like we asked him this before, but I don't remember the answer. So
I don't think we've ever asked him that. I don't
No.
remember. I feel like I would remember the answer, but maybe I'll ask him
Maybe.
again.
just in case, just, another way to potentially take action.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else on agenda from anybody?
I will be listening on Thursday, but I will be also getting a child to a play that they're in. It's Tally Middle School's Beauty and the Beast. So I'll be listening, but I may not be talking.
Yay. Sophie did that one. I feel like she was what was she? I don't know. She was one of the inanimate or objects made animate. I feel like she was the feather duster. Anyway.
That was the first play Izzy ever saw as like a 4-year-old. So
Yeah.
Kind of come full circle.
Oh, I love it. And she's in it, or she's watching, or is she,
In
what
it.
is she? Is she? in it?
She's a dancer, and I think kind of similar, like in one of the objects in the background.
Yes. Yep.
I'm still learning.
Ensemble.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. All right, cool. All right, good. I don't think we need to do any work group updates, or maybe, or even in a position to do them. Because I don't think anything's changed since last time.
Educators is work meeting with DOE on Monday.
I think that's on my calendar too.
Okay, I wasn't sure if Tizzy and Matt were joining.
I was,
We
it
are.
sounded, well, when I saw it, I thought it meant I had to be there. So I was planning to be there.
That would be helpful if you can.
I'm sorry, what meeting is it?
It's Monday at 12:30. We're meeting with, educators is meeting with Kim Klein. So
Oh.
Mike and Noel.
Yeah, I don't need to be at that.
All
Thanks.
right. Matt doesn't need to be at that. I will be there. I might have my camera off and just sort of try to stay out of the way, but I would like to hear how that's going.
They have a plan, so we'll see how it goes.
Right, excellent. And hopefully that gives us like a cool report for Thursday. Awesome, that's good. And then, you know, you guys might need to nudge redistricting a little bit to make sure that that turns into a presence and participation on Thursday. Is that okay? Just let me know if you need backup.
Yeah, I already emailed them about like getting a slide together that I'll send them and for feedback and stuff. Yeah, I can nudge.
Okay, that sounds great. Cool. All right. Well, I don't think we have any public from whom to hear, so I think we're good for today. Nice and easy.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.